welcome everybody to D2D's webinar on ad insertion made easy. I'd like to introduce the panels we have here today. As always, we have Jess Colyer, our Director of Business Development here at D2D, and also today we have a couple of special guests. We have Wiles, the CEO of Panache, also Mark MacGregor, the Vice President of Affiliate Relations at BizTV. So just got a little ground rules to get started. Just all the panelists or all the attendees, if you have any questions or anything, we are going to have a question and answer session at the end here. So feel free to use the chat, and then we won't stop and answer the questions as we're talking, but at the end we'll answer all the questions all at once at the end of the webinar. So let's go ahead and get started. Thank you once again for joining our webinar, and here we're going to talk about ad insertion made easy. What kind of brought up this whole concept was every day there's tens of thousands of avails going by unused at LPTV stations all across the country, and there's just a lot of potential revenue which is just going by, which is not being used. And we think there's got to be a way to be able to mine those avails and start generating some revenue for all the LPTV stations. And the big reason why this issue is occurring is ad insertion can be very expensive, both from a monetary sense and a time sense. First, you have to go out and buy a lot of equipment. You need your ad inserter, you need your ad server, and then once you have the equipment, you have to go out and hire a sales team to sell the avails to your local advertisers and businesses. And then once you do that, then you have to have somebody who's going to manage all this equipment, get the ads into the server, schedule it, and just all that's a lot of time and resources that a lot of LPTV stations don't have. So that's why we came up with the D2 insert ad insertion network. And the way this operates is, once you sign up and we get everything installed, we'll be looking for the Scuddy 35 queues in the incoming program streams. And once we see those, we'll send a message off to the ad exchange where they'll have already sold your avails, and they'll send us back a link to the commercials which are supposed to be played at that time. Once we receive those, we'll do the insert. Once the insert's over, we'll send a verification back to the ad exchange. And that's basically as simple as that. It's a very simple process. And the great thing about this for LPTV stations is we provide all the equipment at no cost. In addition to that, we manage everything as well. So basically, for the station owner, all you have to do is install the equipment and collect revenue checks. It's really that simple. And a very important component of this whole system is the ad exchange. And we've partnered with Panache. They've been a great partner in getting this up and going. So I'd now like to turn this over a little bit to Wiles, the CEO of Panache. Talk a little bit about how the ad exchange works and some of the unique things you're doing with QR codes.
Sure. Well, thank you, Steve, and welcome everyone. As Steve mentioned, I'm with Panache, founded the company back in 2007. And since then, we've built an ad network or an ad exchange. And basically, our job is to be your sales team, your ad sales team. So rather than you having to hire a bunch of people to sell the ad avails that you have and try to figure out, who's going to fill those, how much, and all those details, we handle all of that for you. So what we've done is actually created an automated system that does a couple of things for you. It sells the ads in the sense that the advertisers come to our site, and it's a turnkey solution for you and for them. So it's really a self-serve advertising portal, just like buying ads on Facebook or Google. And so what happens is they will buy the ads by saying, okay, here's my ad. I'm going to upload the ad, and then I'm going to give my dates of when I want to run that ad, markets, and then I can even specify a bid and a daily budget. And the idea is the bid, of course, is just like any other type of online or advertising auction where the highest bidder gets kind of first in line in each ad break. And then you basically decide, okay, what's my budget that I want to spend, each day. So then our job and our system does a scheduling of those ads and figures out who's won the different bids and that kind of thing. But all of that is completely automated and invisible to you. And what is the nice thing about our system is everything being turnkey you can just sit back and collect the check. And so Steve can talk more about that, and Jessica as well. But the idea is we handle all of that complexity for you. And then on top of that, where we're unique, there are other ad exchanges for different outlets, internet sites, streaming, and that kind of thing. But there's two aspects that make us unique. One is there's nobody else doing this for broadcast television. And two, we also have QR codes that we generate for each of the ads. And the unique point about those is we've all seen the QR codes everywhere, but our QR codes are unique per each airing of each ad. And what that really means is it gives the advertisers and you extra measurement that is not possible currently with any other system. And we're the only ones who can do that because our system, once again, is fully automated from end to end. So there's no manual intervention in scheduling the ads and figuring out, which ad goes with which airing and, all this kind of stuff. All of that is done for you. And so what that allows you to do is concentrate on the things that you really want to do, or collecting your revenue, but also building your station, programming anything else you might want to do. And then we handle all of the rest and the complexities. And so the other thing that the QR codes give you are audience measurement, and that's also something that is unique for companies like low power television stations or LPTV, where you don't have Nielsen ratings, and a lot of stations that are even full power don't have ratings because they can't afford it. And we're actually just giving that as part of the service. And so as we build out the data for your station and others in the market, we'll share that with you so you can see how many viewers are you getting. And then in turn, that feeds back into the sales process for the advertisers get to see, oh, well, if I advertise on this market and these stations, I'm going to get this kind of audience response. So once again, we handle all those complexities for you. We do a lot for you, but we've streamlined it in such a way that it makes it easy for everybody involved, from the advertisers to you and everybody in between. So.
Okay, that's some great information, Brian. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Yeah, that's some really exciting technology, especially the QR codes, which allows us to sort of get some metrics, which is one of the big things which has been missing with advertising on LPTV.
Great idea.
So another important part of this whole process is our content providers, the people who are supplying the streams that we're actually doing the insertions on. And the content provider we've been working the most with, and most of our installations so far we've dealt with it, is BizTV, and they've been great. They're supplying a great high quality stream with the Scuddy 35 cues that we've been inserting on, doing a lot of testing with them, and it's really been a great experience. So I thought it'd be great to have Mark MacGregor, the Vice President of Affiliate Relations from BizTV, to come on. Just talk a little bit first, a little bit about BizTV in case there's any stations who are interested in carrying BizTV on their station. Also, just some of the potential he sees with as far as content providers and D2 insert, that there could be a lot of potential there. Go ahead, Mark. It's nice to have you on board.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, I appreciate you being inviting me to do this. This has been exciting for us. I've done affiliate relations for BizTV. BizTV has been around since 2010. I've been doing affiliate relations for a lot longer than that. And this has been one of the most exciting developments in my world that I've ever experienced. And so I'm really thrilled about what y'all are doing from a broadcaster perspective, from a network perspective, and to give potential revenue, a revenue stream that is manageable as far as, not having to have a sales force and not even having to do traffic. This is just the idea of what y'all are doing is incredible. And so we've really been excited about it. The BizTV, just so give you a little bit of background, we are a business television network. We call it Business for Main Street. Our programming is aimed primarily at the small business owner. We do cover national business news. We produce probably about 8 hours of fresh programming every day. BizTV is a broadcast network. We deal with and distribute mostly through OTA and that's gone really well for us. We love the local broadcaster, the independent broadcaster, and that's what we're looking for to grow forward. We're in about 65 markets now. We have a lot of markets that we're not in, and we'd really like to expand and continue to expand our footprint. We offer our broadcasters through this deal with D2D and Media Panache. We offer 4 minutes an hour. We're set up with the system, obviously, to provide the SCUDdy markers, and so we're all ready to go with that. Makes it pretty simple to plug and play. BizTV is nice in that right now, with the economy being the way it is, people have a lot of questions, and so our viewership's really growing, and we're a lot of very current programming, obviously, with business programming. People want to watch it within minutes and hours and minutes of when things actually happen. So our viewership's a very active viewership. So we do have good response when it comes to commercials and DR and PI and all that kind of stuff too. So that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, we are looking for broadcasters. We're looking for new affiliates, and we're looking to grow. As far as our relationship with D2D and Media Panache, I've had affiliates tell me this is the best news they've had in years, and it's just exciting to be able to have, when they have all this inventory and they're not able to monetize it because they don't have the staff, sales staff, or they don't have the expertise in doing that. There's so much involved in all of that. To be able to say, okay, somebody just take those 4 minutes and send me a check. It's a pretty nice thing to be able to have the potential to do that. So we're really excited about this. If there's anyone that would like to have information on BizTV and put us on one of your channels that you've got available, channel space, we would love to talk to you about that. And let's get going. We need to build a huge footprint for this. We need to be able to have a really big national footprint that they can say, hey, when you buy, you're really getting a big exposure in all the major markets and that kind of thing, to put independent broadcasters on the map with this. I'm excited about it. I really am.
Mhm.
Oh, thank you, Mark, and you're being a big help with that as well with your affiliates. You kind of already have a pretty nationwide footprint with BizTV, so it's really been a great partnership, and if you really enjoy watching the content, that's one thing with doing the development and testing. I've got to watch a lot of BizTV, and just really great programming as far as business news, also different shows. I know myself and one of our engineers are talking. We both really like the elevator pitch show where
I love that show. Yeah, that's a really good show. It's a lot of good business. It's not all stale talking head.
Where people have an idea and they get their 60-second elevator ride pitch to pitch it, and then the potential investors vote if they're allowed off the elevator and to do a more in-depth discussion on the idea. So it's a really interesting show, and we both really enjoy watching it. So I highly recommend, if you're looking for to add a sub channel to your station, to look into the BizTV. Mm-hmm. And so now we've talked a little about what D2 Insert is and how it works with the ad exchange and the content provider. So if you're interested in joining, I'd like to turn over to Jess a little bit here now and just talk about what the process is of getting signed up.
Sure, Steve. Thank you. And I just want to echo Steve's comments. If you haven't checked out BizTV yet, it's really a cool channel. It's topical. It has everything you need. And I mean, even if you're not a business mogul, it's a great channel, great content, great job, Mark. And so we integrate with BizTV really easily because BizTV already has everything needed. Basically, to get technical, what we do is we pull in the HLS feed from BizTV. It has the suffix of MU8. And so we pull that in. What we do is we basically intercept that stream as it's compressed. We're pulling in the HLS manifesto, and we're looking basically for SCUDdy triggers that's coming down in the HLS feed. When we see one, Media Panache basically inserts a spot that they've already sold, and it goes on that way until the triggers have gone away, and then we go back to regularly scheduled programming. Steve and the guys have done an amazing job at making this look seamless. I mean, it really looks like you did it with a switcher and baseband. There's no flash frames. It's just like they basically are timing out the iframes and switching right on the iframe. So it's a really nice, clean switch. Once we get the stream in through HLS and then add the insert the ads, then we send the stream back out either SRT or ASI or HLS into an HLS decoder if you want. And then that way you could put it into your StatMux and then, just add the channel into your bouquet. So it's very seamless. There's also some other ways to do it. If you are creating your local content, then, you just got to make sure that your Scuddy triggers are in there and, they're on time. For now, if you just want to dip your toe in the water and you want to go with something like BizTV or some other stations, you can, number one, ask if they're a fast channel. That's a good way to do it. And then, more importantly, find out that they have the triggers in there. Quite often, some encoders and a lot of decoders will strip out the Scuddy triggers. So it's just one thing to do. I think the best thing to do is if you're thinking about signing up, the best bet is probably contact me. And obviously we'll give you the contacts and we'll discuss, exactly what you're trying to do. And then Steve's going to send out a contract. And once that goes through, we're going to send you a box that you're going to put in line and we'll configure it and help you configure it if need be. And then at that point, you should be pretty much good to go. At this point, some situations might require just a little bit of discussion beforehand to find out what your facility is like. I mean, every facility is different. And everybody does things a little bit differently. So it might not be turnkey quite for everybody, but we're going to make sure that we get you on board if at all possible.
Sure. Yeah, that's some great information, Jessica. That's one of the keys is just learn a little bit about station, sort of where we'd go in the chain. The kind of the two most common situations is say a fast channel will typically be coming over HLS and we do the insertion prior to an encoder, and then the other more typical situation is more of local origination type programming where you're putting the cues in as you're encoding it, and then we're downstream from the encoder looking at the Scuddy 35s in a private PID where the HLS we're looking for the Scuddy 35s and the HLS manifest, but they'll work in both ways. So yeah, that's great information there, Jess, and how to kind of get started.
Thanks,
just
Steve.
Contact Jess and we'll get a contract signed out to you and the equipment sent out and get everything configured for you. That's one of the nice things too is that we do have the what's called reverse SSH, where basically the unit sort of can call out to our server to kind of basically opens up the firewall without having to get your IT department and everybody signed up, so that we can get access to the unit and help you configure it if you have any issues without getting your IT department involved, which is always a big help that we don't have to go through that step.
That's a good point, Steve. RSSH is a game changer when it comes to accessing and helping other people from a support standpoint. No more TeamViewer, no more AnyDesk. Basically, you could just give me your login and password and the serial number, and I can log in from anywhere and help you configure it. So thanks for bringing that up.
Oh, you're welcome. And okay, so it's kind of, we put out a lot of information here. So now I'd like to turn over to the attendees. If anybody has any questions, feel free to enter into the chat here. We'll go ahead and answer those.
Yeah, we got a couple questions, actually, a couple good ones. So the first one that came in was what stations have already signed up?
Yes, we already have some really good markets. We already have equipment which has been shipped out, installed, and ready to go. So some of the ones we have so far are Los Angeles, San Diego, Las Vegas, Albany, New York, Pittsburgh. So we already have a lot of good footprint out, which is very important to get these units out there, because for me at Panache to sell the avails, they need to know where the avails are located. So it's kind of good to get these systems out there installed so that Media Panache can now say, okay, we have avails in Los Angeles, or actually we got quite a few in Texas too, at Dallas, Houston. And so now when they're trying to talk to the ad agencies, they now can give them specific markets that are ready to go. We have avails that we can insert into, so that's very important. And a few other ones which should be coming online let's say by the end of the month, are Tampa, Nashville, the Denver area, San Antonio. So there's a lot of really good big markets to help get this going. I'm sure once once we get some of the bigger markets and get the ad agencies really comfortable with doing this type of ad insertion, that we can, it'll start trickling down to some of the smaller markets as well once they become comfortable with the whole model.
Great. Yeah, it's nice to see that some major markets are coming in, and we're actually starting to see some numbers now. So, it's really, really exciting. Do have some more questions in here. I got one I think might be for Brian. Probably Brian. So we have a customer that doesn't really want to air like any kind of edgy ads or alcohol or anything like that. Do the customers or the people inserting the ads have the ability to choose not exactly what ad, but what ads not to get?
Right. Yeah, I'm actually glad you asked that. So our system, kind of described it at a higher level, but there are a lot of provisions for things like content filtering or ad filtering already built into it. So we do a couple of things. One, we can filter on the type of advertiser. So for example, you don't want a beer commercial on your network, on your station, not a problem at all. And so we have the ability to filter on that. And the other thing that we can do is say, if you have a certain ad type, this is more for the advertiser side, but they typically don't want to have competing ads in the same ad break. So for example, a Ford and Chevy local car dealership advertising at the same time is not the best use of the advertising dollars. So we'll typically spread those out as well. But it's all based on the type of advertiser there are. We also are looking into potentially filtering more granular than that, but that's essentially going to solve, basically the issues that you have today. Things like casinos and alcohol advertising on religious stations is not going to be a good combination, for example. So absolutely.
Right. Yeah, good answer. Great question. Thank you for that. Steve, let's see, we got another one. This one might be for you. Can you use D2 insert without the SCUDdy cues?
That's a good question. So we currently require the SCUDdy 35 cues either in the HLS manifest or in a private PID in accordance with SCUDdy 35. We currently don't do audio tones, and we're looking to maybe some ways to actually cue off the audio tones, but it's hard to do that without actually decoding the stream. So that gets a little tricky. One area where we can kind of maybe do things where there's not the actual cues, or they're doing audio cues and we're not able to use that, is based off time, off a schedule, that if we know when it's supposed to insert, we can just do it off sort of the clock time. Where that potentially comes in, where it becomes an issue though, in a lot of cases, is the delay, but especially if you're doing an HLS feed, you're bringing HLS, from somewhere out in the cloud, and you're decoding, re-encoding, and going through all these steps. By the time it would get to the insertion point, there's a delay, and going through all those different pieces, the delay tends to not be constant. So it's very tricky to insert in those situations. But in other situations, especially if you're doing local origination and you have a playout server and the schedule, and you can schedule the time, and you can put the flex immediately after your playout server. So you're basically hooked into this, right next to each other, hooked into the same physical switch. So there's very little delay from the playout server to our box. And we also have the ability, when we insert based off time, to put a millisecond delay in. So we kind of notice that basically it's always, say, 500 milliseconds late, based on the actual, from basically the latency they get from the playout server to our box. We can put that delay in there, so we'll always wait that 500 milliseconds before we actually do the insertion. So we think in cases like that, where especially when you're doing local origination, there is the ability to do it just off time, in case there's no cue tones or only audio cue tones.
Great. So basically, can't really do DTMF tones, but you have the ability to do it through some timing, and you also have the ability to delay exactly like when the commercial happens by a few milliseconds, so they time up. So that's great. So I do believe they make a device that will take in DTMF tones and make them SCUDdy 35s, but you want to check and make sure your encoder does. So I have a question from somebody that wants to bring in ASI, an ASI stream in from another market, and then basically use the same signal to feed, another market, and they wanted to find out if they can do that. So can we basically do ASI, Steve, if we wanted to, or does it have to be HLS?
But we can definitely do ASI. When it's ASI, though, there needs to be the Scuddy 35s in the private pits. That's kind of the one question in that situation. There definitely is the ability to, if the stream is going to a primary location and go to a secondary location, we can insert just in that secondary location. But the one key is we still need to have the Q tones to know when to insert. So that would be the one caveat with that. But if there is Q tones, letting us know when to insert, we could insert just in that secondary market.
Okay, so ASI, not a problem, as long as the Scotty
Correct.
35 tones are in there. And I guess, if you have any questions, by all means, if you're not sure if it'll work for you, if it's not a fast channel or it's a little bit of a one-off situation, by all means, don't hesitate to give me a call. I love talking to you. So anyone else, any questions? I'm looking through the chat here. I don't think I see any. We had some really good questions. We covered a lot of great ground. So I think we're pretty good. Anyone? Bueller?
Oh, one other thing I did want to add, just we kind of discuss it, just kind of is that now is a very good time to be doing this. Is kind of getting an installed unit base where you get a lot of markets signed up and start getting the different ad agencies comfortable with inserting in this the type of way we're doing it. Is because coming up this fall and especially next year is presidential election,
Right.
and basically the numbers have just been going crazy. Basically every election cycle, the amount of just local advertising for political advertising has been doubling, tripling every cycle. So there's going to be a lot of money put in towards political advertising on local television over the next 18 months or so. So it's a good time to be getting this all worked out and installed and ready to go. So when all that advertising, political advertising starts coming in, that everything is ready to go.
Right. And just to add to that, we've been talking with political agencies who are very interested in this as well. So
Great. Yeah, good point. We do have one more question coming in from an attendee. For multi-channel ASI streams, can you grab one channel, insert on it, and re-encode it back into the multi-channel ASI stream? So they have several coming in. They want to just insert over one and then put it back in.
Correct. And we do that, but we'd actually don't. As the stream's coming through, we just replace the one program within the multicast. So we don't actually even take it out and put it back in. We just replace it on the fly. So it's so it'll come as a multi-program stream. We'll just do the insert on the packets, which are that were for the program we're inserting on. We won't touch the other programs within the transport stream, then it goes back out. So we actually don't even break it up. We just replace the individual program that we're inserting on.
So the answer is because they use the word encode back into it, but basically we don't decode it, right? We're just going right over top of the MPEG-2. So yes. So the short answer to that question is yes, we can do that.
Right. We'd actually be able to insert on more than, like, if you had multiple sub channels that you run to insert into, we can insert into multiples, but just only affect the streams that the program are actually inserting into, but not the other programs within the stream.
Great. Okay. Great question. I think that's it for now. If we didn't cover it or we didn't answer the question properly, then we're going to go ahead and share our contacts with you. Feel free to use me as your main point if you want. Brian's really good about returning calls and emails, as well as Steve. So we want to hear from you. If it's a one-off situation, we want to get you signed up and get you advertising.
Okay. So if nobody else has any other questions, I'd like to thank everybody for attending and for our special guests, Brian Wiles with Media Panache and Mark MacGregor with BizTV. And this has been recorded. This will go up on our website and YouTube channel. So in case you want to kind of go back over something that you weren't quite clear on and want to kind of watch it again, it'll be there. If you have friends who weren't able to watch, you can pass it on to them as well. And we look forward to seeing you at our next webinar.
Yep. Thanks for joining, everybody.
Yep.
Have a good
Thanks,
day.
everyone.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thank
Mark.
you.
Brian. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.